the obvious connection between my hand tattoos and the cup I'm making in this video. Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a connection. I've been working with concentric circles and chevron patterns and similar patterns in the studio for the last 2 or 3 years or so. And I think just like anything, art is part of my existence in the world. It's part of my life practice. And so, the things that I'm working on in the studio are going to come out and inform other parts of my life, especially other sort of creative parts of my life, in the same way that what I'm experiencing outside of the studio or looking at outside of the studio or thinking about outside of the studio comes in and informs the work I'm making. So, but I think that there's some other ways that the tattooing, my hand tattoos and that work connect that are maybe less one-to-one, that I'm a little bit more interested in. I didn't get my hand tattoos so that they would match the work, and I don't make that work in the studio because of my hand tattoos. I think about them much more as kind of sort of my state of being in the world. And I'm getting that from a tattoo artist named Julie Moon. There's a ceramic artist named Julie Moon too, but the tattooer Julie Moon, she talks about the difference between stating that someone has a tattoo versus someone is tattooed. The first, having a tattoo, is thinking about a tattoo from the position of ownership and thinking about a tattoo as a kind of object that one obtains and owns. And the latter, being a tattooed person, is a state of being that's forever linked to our identity and our sense of self and the persona we present. And so when I think about that relationship in terms of my studio practice, I think that analogy holds true. I'm not an artist who is particularly outcomes driven. I do make objects and I do have outcomes, but I'm not in the studio to make the specific cup or the specific object, and I have to get to that place, and if I don't get to that place, I'll keep trying until I do. Like, I'm much more interested in leaving the outcomes of my studio practice open, and changing things as I go along as a way of experimenting and exploring and learning. And that is a state of being. That is a purpose in the studio that's about me, rather than about the thing I'm making. And tattooing is that same way for me. I don't think about like, I'm gonna go get a tattoo of like a dagger and a skull or something. I'm not picking on anybody with daggers and skull tattoos. I have one right here. But it's much more about, I'm in the process of becoming more tattooed. I like this artist's work. And so, I don't know, they do cool skull and daggers, and so I'll get one, And so I think about tattooing a little differently. And I think that, both of those life practices of being in the studio as an artist and becoming more heavily tattooed, I've been doing both for the same amount of time. I made my first objects out of clay when I was 18 at a community college, and very quickly it became a serious endeavor for me. And I got my first professional tattoo done when I was 18. I got this tattoo sleeve. So, both practices I've kept up for my life. And there are things when I think back to that 20 plus years in the studio, there are things that I've learned about myself that only the studio could have taught me, that only making could have taught me. There's no other way to learn some things about yourself than through really exploring creativity with an artistic medium. And that's very true of tattooing as well. There's parts of my psyche or just sort of my internal person that only tattooing can reveal, and only tattooing can kind of give credence to. I've always known I was going to be a tattooed person. I grew up outside of Philadelphia, and my mom often had business in the city. So sometimes she'd take me, and she really liked South Street. So we'd walk up and down South Street, and we'd like point at all the people. This is like the early 90s. So we'd point at all the people with mohawks and tattoos and facial piercings and stuff and kind of snicker. But even at that time, I'm like 10, 11, 12. I knew I was going to do that. There was something about the way that those people were sort of presenting themselves and the things that they were asserting on their bodies that just clicked with me. It just connected with an internal part of myself that I didn't know, but I knew was there. And so my practice of becoming more tattooed has really given some respect to that part of myself that I couldn't have done in any other way. I think that another connection on that same note is the sort of amount of agency that both making and tattooing provide for me. As potters, I think making pots is pretty radical for being a 20,000-year-old art medium. It's pretty radical in the thinking about it in terms of the 21st century. Go to any big box store or any dollar store or anything, and you'll find more than enough ceramics. Like, the world has enough industrially made ceramics, but potters distinctly say no. There aren't enough handmade pots, or there's not enough pots in the world until I have this one, right? And so I think that making is a way of inserting our voice. It's a way of subverting sort of a paradigm that exists, but it's also a way of inserting our voice and elevating our voice and spreading our voice out into different ways, not just this way, not just through written language, but through the visual language that we put into our work that communicates. In the terms of pottery, putting our work in the hands of someone else, it can communicate tactily. Utilitarian pots infiltrate our homes, and they put your content, they put art content, the way that you think about things, or the way that the things we want to communicate into the places where people might least expect them, the bottom of a cereal bowl or your coffee cup or whatever. And so really, I think making is a way of elevating our voice and extending our voice and making our voice permanent and tangible in the world. And tattooing feels very much the same for me in that way. I would say I'm pretty conspicuously tattooed, where I can't hide my tattoos with reasonable clothing. So every time I am out in public, people who see me, they see my tattoos. But they're also seeing an assertion. They're seeing an assertion of who I want to be. Tattooing provides an agency over our bodies. We're all born unmarked, other than maybe natural birthmarks or something, but unintentional. No intentional marks. But the idea that we're going to intentionally alter our body and we're going to do that permanently changes who we are, and it changes the way that we're seen in the world. And it takes control over who we present to the world. It takes control over how I feel about myself. And it takes control over the way that I want to be perceived. And it does it in a radical way. And so that increase in voice, giving voice to that internal part of me that loves to be tattooed, that feels love and feels comfort through being tattooed. It's really about providing that kind of agency as well. So I love that ceramics and tattooing has done both of that for me. And I think that too, you caught this kind of uncanny moment in my career where my hands match that body of work, but even as we recorded that, I'm not making that work anymore. My practice is one, I'm still kind of learning who I am as an artist and how I work as an artist, but I do know that I feel compelled to, make a body of work for maybe 2 or 3 or 4 years or so, and then I need new questions, I need new challenges. My excitement for the work kind of dries up, and I feel compelled to move on and start something new. And so, even now I've moved on from that body of work. So, um, you know, uh, I can look back over, it's like such a gift, right? To be able to look back over 20 years of an art practice and go, gosh, I can't believe I made that thing. I can't believe what was I thinking then? Or, like look at how much progress I've made. Or, what the thing that I really love looking back at my body of work over 20 years is to find the things that are still there. Flipping through my very first sketchbook, I can see things that I was interested in making then that I'm still kind of interested in, still working through now. And so that record of a life of creative endeavor is such a special gift that making gives us. And my body is also marked with that same kind of arc, that same kind of growth, and the record of that. I don't have, I don't think I have any pots from my intro to ceramics class, or really like the first year or so I made pots. I didn't keep anything. But I had my first tattoo ever that I got with a tattoo machine. It's on my shoulder up here. And I got it in my friend's attic. And I got it in 1997, which is important to know because it's a tribal tattoo. And it's not a tattoo I would ever get again. It's not a good tattoo. It's not a tattoo I like or one I'm particularly proud of. But I've never gotten it covered up. And in fact, I've actually got it professionally touched up twice. So not only have I not gotten it covered up, but I've preserved that first tattoo I ever got. And it's super special to me. Like it started a journey of discovery that's been really important to myself. And it became a point for me that marked a time in my life when I was going to start to, I was not going to hide parts of me that are true and real and need to be revealed. I'm going to start to alter my body to show who I am and show how I feel and to show how I think about the world. So it's very special to me in that sense. So I love that. I love that record and being able to really track how I've developed and how I've grown. So yeah. So thank you for the opportunity for the question on tattooing and pots, because it's something that I think a lot about, and there are two life practices that are definitely really important to me. But I guess I don't usually get to communicate them. So thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity. Yeah, thanks.